Good morning and welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration. Today I'm going to be reading out of the book, Your Forces and How to Use Them. It amazes me how people have a mind, and everyone will agree, most everyone, that every action is preceded by a thought. But yet people don't take time to learn how to control and direct their thinking when their whole life springs from thought. It doesn't spring from action. Action is a result of thoughts. Everything in your life today is a result of the thoughts that you took. You could say it's a result from the actions, but the actions result from the thoughts. So you must go deeper than what you see on the surface. Don't judge by the evidence of your senses because they are faulty. You're just seeing the result of the cause. You're seeing the effect of the cause. The cause is your thought. So, without further ado, your forces and how to use them. Page 28. To use the power of the mind, the first essential is to direct every mental action toward the goal in view. It's important to have a goal. Most people don't have goals. Less than 1% of the population have written goals. How can you get somewhere if you don't know where you're going? If you set out on a vacation or a journey, you have to have a destination. But how many people wake up every day and they don't know where they're going? They're just trying to get through the day. They don't have any goals. They don't have a destination. They don't have a vision. They don't have a purpose. And as Thoreau said, they live lives of quiet desperation. Now, we don't care about everyone else. We just care about you. What kind of life are you living? Do you have a goal, a purpose, a vision, a destination? Well, maybe you say to me, well, Mark, what does it matter what I do? I'm just one person in billions of people. Think about the greats throughout history. What if they would have thought as that they were just one person and couldn't make a difference? Maybe you're not going to make a difference to everyone in the world and be remembered like Attila the Hun or Marcus Aurelius or Genghis Khan or Alexander the Great. But you have no idea what a difference you may make in just one person's life and what a difference he may make, or what a difference you may make in several people's lives. Your life touches many lives as you go throughout your living experience on this planet. I just sent a message to an old friend of mine from back in the 70s. When we were growing up, he was from somewhat of a poor family. But man, that guy was in shape. He had a six-pack. He was muscular. And he always stayed in shape, and I admired him for his physical ability and his physical appearance. And I wanted to look like him. Well, it was many years later, but I finally did look like him. So even though he didn't say anything to me that I remember specifically, just by his example, it influenced my life. And thus I've gone on to influence other people. I'll be 63 years old this year, and I'm in great shape. I have a six-pack finally. Not quite as toned as I was because I had an injury for the last year, but I keep pressing on toward the mark, and I'll get back into shape like I was a year ago. It's difficult sometimes and challenging, but it's the challenges that make life worth living. That gives a man a feeling of fulfillment and accomplishment. Without adversity and challenge, life would be boring and glum. And that seems to be one of the biggest problems we have in the West today. Everything is just too easy. Most minds, however, do not apply this law, the law of a goal, the law of a destination, the law of the mind. They think about a certain thing one moment and about something else the next moment. At a certain hour, their mental actions work along a certain line, and at the next hour, those actions work along a different line. Sometimes the goal in view is one thing, and sometimes another. So the actions of the mind do not move constantly toward a certain definite goal, but are mostly scattered. Think about this, what they just said, in comparison to a magnifying glass in the sun. If you focus that glass on one point and keep it there, it will start a fire. First, a small flame, but that can eventually set a whole fire ablaze, burning thousands, tens of thousands of acres. All started by one pinpoint focus on one area, one specific area. And so it is with your thinking. You must pinpoint it and focus it on one thing, becoming one thing, one type of person, achieving whatever it is you want to achieve. But it's not so much about what you achieve and the material things you get as it is what you become in the process. What kind of man do you need to become to achieve, to live the life you desire to live? What is your goal? Is it a worthy goal or ideal? I love Earl Nightingale's example of success, his definition of success. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal or ideal. Now, he didn't say the destination. He said the progression. I forgot what he said. Success is the progression of a worthy goal or ideal. The progressive realization. I forgot what it was there. The progressive realization. It's the process. That is success. The process, not the destination. And we are so focused in our society on, this guy's got this money, this guy's got this car, these houses, these women. That is not the success. That is a result of the success. That is a result of the progressive realization of a worthy goal or ideal. We focus on that and we think that is the success. If that's the success, then a man just grinds all his life to achieve that, and then he's done. Then he didn't enjoy the process. You must enjoy the process. Well, you don't have to. You can be miserable and grind. But when you get to that goal that you think is the all in all, you'll be very disappointed. You'll feel empty and flat. Many people who have reached a certain success in terms to amount of money or fame found themselves feeling empty and lost because they didn't realize or they forgot that the joy truly is in the journey. And I'm going to tell you what, it took me some 50 years to figure that one out. I thought it was all about being number one, being the best, everybody looking at me, being famous. And I achieved some local fame here where I live many years ago. And I remember after I won my first pro fight, which was a big deal for me, and it was a goal that I set. And it was great after the fight, man, people were patting me on the back. I had a guy from Donald Curry, was a former welterweight champion, I think was at that fight, and he was trying to get me to come to his gym down in Texas and fight for him, which was a big deal for me. And I got voted best fight of the night and got extra money for that. So it was a big thing. I mean, it couldn't have went any better. It was just as I visualized. Actually better than I imagined. So I left there that night, but my whole life was falling apart at the time, but I didn't know it. That's a whole other story. You'd have to buy the book to figure that one out. But after that, I went to the bar to have a couple beers, and I'm sitting there drinking those beers, and I'm thinking, I didn't get drunk. I'm thinking, is this all there is? Is this it? And it was from that moment on that my life just kind of fell apart. But it's actually the beginning of the life I have today, which is fantastic. I needed my life to be torn out from the foundation so I could build over again. But this all comes from your thinking. I've always set goals in my life. Most of my life I've had goals. I have a written goal right now, and I read it twice a day, and I think about it during the day. I visualize it, I imagine it as if it's already come to pass. And as I look back over my life, everything that I've ever desired, everything that I ever let dominantly control my mind or be my dominant thinking throughout the day, I have achieved. Now, there are things that I wanted to achieve, that I thought I wanted to achieve, but I did not get them. I ended up getting something better. Now, was I disappointed when I didn't get what I thought I wanted? Of course I was. But I've also learned in my life, and you will learn too if you become aware of your thinking and your life and contemplate your life, that the things that you thought you wanted so badly and didn't get, you really didn't want. You got something better. You have to look at everything in your life. Well, you don't have to, but it's profitable for you or prosperous for you to look at everything in your life as happening for you and not to you. An example, this week it's raining. We have work. Thank God I have a lot of work. I went through a period of about 3 months there where I didn't have anything. It was tough. But even then, I looked at it as happening for me. Did I always feel great during that time? No. Did I have some fear? Yes, I did. I make really good money. And I'm used to having money and being able to do whatever I want to do pretty well. It just stopped. So during that time, I had to look at myself and think about what I had been thinking about. How did I create this? Or why is this created? Why did I create this for myself? And for me, I come to the conclusion it was about trust. Trusting that when things don't go the way I think they should, and when it seems like everything's going downhill, that it's not really. So now I have come out of that on the other side. I'm starting to catch up on what I had gotten behind on. And I can't see all the good in it. And sometimes you can never look back and figure it all out or see how it helped you. But many times you can, and I suggest that you do that. Contemplate your life. Everything that is in your life, as I said earlier, is something you have brought into your life by your dominant thinking. And when you see someone else doing something that pisses you off or annoys you, there's a really good chance, there's a bird out there on a really good chance that you do that somewhere to someone in your life, but you don't want to look at it within yourself. You cannot see something in someone else, especially if there's a strong emotional reaction, unless it were not present within you. Now, that could be an admirable trait. If you see people who are successful and you admire them, they do something that you really admire, you are able to do that. You have that capacity, that ability within yourself. And in contrast to that, if you see someone doing something that you think is terrible and annoys you, or that you hate, you can't stand, you have that within you. You either are doing it, have done it, or definitely have the capacity to do it. Otherwise, it would not affect you emotionally to such a degree that it does. Keep that in mind whenever something arouses you emotionally, either negatively or positively. Okay. In his mind, not a single mental action is thrown away. This is the guy who makes it. The man, let me back up a little bit. Every individual who is actually working himself steadily and surely toward the goal he has in view invariably directs all the power of his thought upon that goal. In his mind, not a single mental action is thrown away, not a single mental force wasted. All the power that is in him is being directed to work for what he wishes to accomplish. And the reason that every power responds in this way is because he is not thinking of one thing now and something else the next moment. He is thinking all the time of what he wishes to attain and achieve. The full power of mind is turned upon the object, and as mind is the ruling power, the full power of all his other forces will tend to work for the same object. And here's what happens to most people. They don't have a goal. They don't have a destination. They're thinking of one thing one minute and one thing the next. And now, especially with the advent of social media, with it being right at your fingertips, and I've allowed this to happen to myself. You'll watch something on the news that maybe, and the only news I watch is clips, and sometimes I wish I hadn't watched that. I would advise you to stay away from that too. But we're all human. I get drawn into that sometimes, because that can pull your thinking away from what you want and on to what you're afraid of, on to what you don't want, what you don't like, becoming critical of the politicians, the government, this side or that side, the left or the right, and all that stuff that you really have no control over. Many people say, well, I need to be informed. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you can't do anything about it and you don't need to take any action concerning the issue, do you really need to be informed? During 9/11, that whole thing, I didn't watch the news, I didn't read the newspapers. Occasionally I would glance at the front page of a paper as I was walking in or out of the gas station. Sometimes I realized that I would have been better off not to do that even. But I wasn't afraid during all of that because I didn't take in what the news was selling. And the news media, even now it seems more dramatic than then, sells fear. They want you to be afraid. They want you to watch the next show. They want you to watch all of this show because they make their money on ratings. And they do a dang good job. Let's keep it on a positive note. They do a really good job of keeping people afraid, which is obvious. If you look back over the last 2 or 3 years, we still have people that are afraid. And if you look at the numbers concerning that situation, well, I can't talk about that because I've already got a warning on YouTube about talking about that. So let's move on to something else. But fear is a powerful thing. And remember, fear can be used to manipulate, to get people to do things that they normally wouldn't do and regret them later. So never take any kind of action on fear. Of course, if someone is robbing you or attacking you, you may be afraid that you're going to get hurt. You need to defend yourself. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about fearful actions which can wait. Like you see something on the news and they tell you to take a certain action, which could be beneficial for your health or could be detrimental for your health. Maybe it's something that has not been studied well yet. Stop and think long and hard of that and decide to make whatever decision towards that end after the fear has gone. Ask God to remove that fear and direct your attention to what He would have you be, and that fear will go. Think about what you desire, and you'll be led to the right choice, whatever is best for you. It really does work. And when I speak of God, I'm not a religious guy. I always make this disclaimer because I'm not a member of any church or organization. When I say God, whatever that means to you, whatever it means, if it means anything to you, whatever that means to you. All right, let's move on here. When we know what we want, however, I jumped ahead. In using the power of the mind as well as all the other forces we possess, the first question to answer is what we really want. Yeah, what do you really want? Maybe you don't know. Well, here's what I'll tell you. I've used this many times in my life. Decide what you want, even if you're not sure, but just, I think this is what I want. Write it down and set off in that direction. You will be led and guided to what it is you want. If it's not that, you will be led to something better. Okay, but you can never be led unless you start moving forward. And I use this quote all the time by Martin Luther King Jr. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. So many people don't set a goal. They don't write down a goal. They don't move toward anything because they try to figure out how they're going to get there the whole way. So they never do anything. But everyone knows the first step. Some people say, I don't even know where to begin, but you do. It may be something simple as getting online and looking up a YouTube video about what you desire to have, or reading a book, or making a phone call, or just thinking about it, or writing it down. Just because you don't know how to get there, nobody knows how to get there. Nobody does. And if you think you do, think about this. You're going to go to California and you leave from, let's say, Chicago. Now you're going to tell me you know exactly how to get there, what road you're going to take, and how long it's going to take. So you take off. You get to St. Louis. And unbeknownst to you, they're having construction and you have to go around a detour. Did you know that when you took off? No. But were you able to handle that when you got there? When it was presented to you? Yes, you were. Okay, so you go through the detour, you get around the city, you're moving happily along your way again. And you get to Kansas City. And guess what? The bridge is out. What are you going to do? You can't go around because you're talking another 2 or 3 days. But they just about have the bridge finished, and you'll be able to go across the bridge tomorrow evening. Luckily for you. So you have to spend the night in Kansas City or drive 2 days out of your way. You take advantage of a little time to rest. You spend the night in Kansas City. So I could go on and on about this, but you get the picture here. You never know the full, complete way. Now you can plan and set out on that way, and that's good, of course, to plan, decide which way you're going to go. But to not set a goal, to not take off, to not step out there and move toward what you desire because you can't see the whole way, you don't know how you're going to get there, is really just fear, dressed up as a logical assumption that you'll never get there because you don't know how. The way will be unveiled to you as you go, but you have to step out. You will never reach distant lands if you're not willing to take your foot off of the shore where you are now. You got to step out there, man. You got to take a risk. Are you going to fail? Are you going to flop on your face? Probably many times. But I'm here to tell you, at 63 years old, when I look back over my life, and I've failed many times, I can't count the times I failed. All of that makes for a wonderful, adventurous life. And when I look back over my life, man, I wouldn't change a thing. Sometimes maybe some of the people I hurt, I would change that. But then again, I look at how many people I felt like hurt me, and they all taught me a valuable lesson. I would not change that at all. So it's my hope that if I did hurt some people, and I'm sure I did, if you want to look at it that way, and I've gone back to the ones I could and the ones I could find, I've made amends for my wrongs best I could. It's my hope that they, like myself, learned valuable lessons from that. And I can only wish them the best and hope for the best. And if you have people in your past that you have done wrong, or you've hurt, or you feel like you've done wrong, it's wise to go back to those people, if possible, and offer to tell them that you were wrong and offer to make things right. If you owe someone money, some business deal, or something like that, you may want to pay them back. And you don't do that for them, you do it for yourself. This clears up your thinking and allows you to keep your mind on what you want and off of what you don't want. This is the garbage within you that actually blocks the power that you have within you to achieve all your desires. Okay, but the majority do not know what they really want. They may have some vague desire, but they have not determined clearly, definitely, and positively what they really want. And this is one of the principal causes of failure. I never get what I want. You've heard that before? Ask them, do you know what you want? And what most people do, they'll list off all the things they don't want. Let's use an example here of a guy who wants a good-looking woman, he wants a nice woman, he wants a wife, he wants a partner, he wants a girlfriend. Well, what kind of a girl do you want? Well, I don't want one that drinks, I don't want one that smokes, I want one that stays in shape. There was a good one. I don't want one that lies to me, I don't want one that cheats on me. And they're thinking about what they don't want. What do you think that person is going to draw into their life? It's a psychological fact that whatever you focus on in your life grows in your experience. So if you're focusing on what you don't want, guess what you're going to get more of? What you don't want. So my recommendation for that is this. Write down everything you don't want, if it's a girl or a job or whatever. Everything you don't want in a girl, a job, in a house, in a city you want to live, whatever it happens to be. And then the opposite of that, for example, I don't want a girl who cheats, all right? I want a girl who's faithful and loyal. And you do that with everything you don't want. On the opposite side, put the contrasting point or the opposite of what it is you don't want. And then focus on that. and visualize that and wonder about what it would be like to be with someone like that. Or if it's a job, wonder and think about how it would be to have a job like that with a boss like that. Or if you're an entrepreneur, think about what it would feel like to be able to get up and go wherever you want to. Right now, a month ago I couldn't. Right now I could get up and fly down to the Caribbean and spend a few days or a week if I desired. It would probably be a little irresponsible because I'm still catching up on my bills, but I could do it. So that's a nice feeling of freedom. Now, I'm not going to do it, but I could do it if I wanted to, if I really wanted to, or if I had to. I don't know why I would have to, but if I had to, I could do that. And that's a nice feeling. I like that feeling. And what we're all after is a feeling. If you think that getting that car or that woman or that house or that $100,000 a year job or that freedom of being an entrepreneur is what you really want, you have to look deeper than that. You want the feeling of what that will bring to you. Everybody's after a feeling. You want that Lamborghini? You want the feeling that that Lamborghini is going to bring you. You want that beautiful girlfriend, that wife. You want that feeling that that's going to give to you. Now, I'm not one to live on feelings, but feelings are important. You should never act on all your feelings. As a man, you have to use logic. But the point I'm making here is you need to listen to your feelings. What do you really want? And if you can feel as if you already have that woman, or if you can feel as if you already have that Lamborghini or that $100,000 a year job, that is a prerequisite to actually obtaining it. Many people think, well, if I just had that, I would feel good. Feel good now, and then you can have that later. That's why people who are extremely rich can lose everything they have and gain it all back, because they have the consciousness, the feeling of a rich person. They don't talk about poverty. They don't talk about lack. They don't talk about what they don't want. They only talk and think about what they do want. You've seen people, let's say Trump, for example. They're going to arrest him, okay? They're trying to get him. Regardless of what your political view is, if you think that he deserves to be arrested and banned from running for the president, or you don't think that. These people, I'm sure Biden does it too. I'm not sure, but he probably does. When they're in situations like that, where they have serious problems, they keep their mind focused on what they desire and off of what they don't desire. Contrary to that, most people can only think about, oh, what if they arrest me? What's going to happen? How's that going to be? I'm going to lose this. I'm not going to be able to do that. How long am I going to be in jail? And it goes on and on. Think about Andrew Tate. He's been locked up for 60, 90 days almost now. Now, he kind of was a self-fulfilling prophecy, and I like Andrew, and I think it's a terrible injustice what they're doing to him. No charges. They're keeping him in jail. I don't know what he's done, if he's done anything. But I know there's people out there that have done much worse than what he's even accused of being done, and they don't do anything to those people. But those people don't have a platform. Those people don't speak out against the people who are actually running the world. But do you remember what he said? First, they ban him, which they did. Then they'll jail him, which they've done. And then they would kill him if that didn't work. Eliminate him. I better rephrase that. So, two of those things have happened, but he spoke of it and spoke of it. He prophesized it, really. And it's the same way with you. Be careful what you're thinking. Be careful what you're speaking, because that is what's going to come into your life. Now, did he want to go to jail? Of course he didn't. Did he know that he was prophesying his future? I'm not sure. Probably, but maybe he didn't. I don't know. You would have to ask Andrew that. But that's basically what happened. He knew this would happen. He continued doing what was going to make it happen. I admire him for his courage. As some of you know, I've stood up against the local system here and experienced similar things he's experiencing now. I knew that if he kept speaking, that something was going to happen. Everyone has skeletons in their closets, even if they're not skeletons that are actually something that they broke the law with, but things that people could take and manipulate into something that they could get you in trouble for. And I think that's basically what's happened to him. Although I don't know for sure. I wouldn't sit there and claim that I do know. Just like the people that claim that he's guilty, needs to be in jail, they don't know any more about it than I do. So you decide what you think there. I'm for him. I hope he gets out. I like his message. I understand why some people think he's a misogynist, why some people think he's sexist. I understand why people think that. I don't think that, but of course I've been accused of being that myself too. So back to thinking. When we know what we want, however, and proceed to work for it with all the power and ability that is in us, we may rest assured that we will get it. All the power and ability that is in us. I talk a lot about your thoughts create your life, and they do. But I'm not sitting here telling you that don't take any action. What is it? The law of attraction? The word action is in there. Attraction, action. It's synonymous. You have to have, I think that's the right word. Correct me if I'm wrong. Leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on this. But if you look back over your life objectively, you can see how the events in your life, especially the main events, were preceded by a dominant way of thinking which brought these things on. The only way to see that is you have to take out the word blame, because you drew these people into your life to complete the pattern of your dominant thinking. The kingdom of heaven is within. Well, I would venture to say that the kingdom of hell is within also. We create our heaven or hell here on earth, depending on what we focus on, what our dominant thinking patterns are. When I'm telling you guys this, and you girls, I need to hear this as much as I need to share it with you, because by sharing it with you, it reinforces in me what I know to be a fact. And the fact is, your thoughts create your life. I would recommend Wayne Dyer. He's got some really good stuff about how your thinking creates your reality. Thoughts are things. Thoughts manifest into things. Before you bought that car you drive, you had to think about it. You probably thought about what it would be like driving it. Before your car broke down, you probably thought, what am I going to do if I break down? Many times people will see someone, let's have an example, a nice old woman. She goes to church, she helps people, she works in the church, and she gets mugged. My God, why do things like that happen to such good people? And she is a good person. But what you don't know about her is that every time she goes out, she's full of fear. She radiates fear because she thinks someone's going to rob her, because she knows how vulnerable she is. She's a widow. She doesn't have a man to protect her. There's no one there to help her. The policeman can't be with her all the time. And besides that, she watches one of those shows, crime shows on TV every day of all the terrible things that happen to people, all the victims in the world. And thus she becomes a victim, because this is her dominant way of thinking. Her fear is like a magnet. Faith and fear are equivalent but opposite. What you fear, you draw into your life. Like in the Old Testament, in the Bible, Job said, what I have greatly feared has come upon me. What I greatly believe that I want and desire will come upon me also. But if you have strong fear, it's like a magnet also. Faith and fear are both magnets, drawing to us either what we want or the opposite of what we want. Because as I said earlier, whatever you focus on will grow in your experience. There's another story in the Bible, and I quote the Bible a lot because I believe it's a great book of wisdom, about a widow, and she had 3 drops of oil, and the prophet comes to her house. And she's like barren and desolate. She has nothing. She's a widow. Back in those days, a widow without children she could barely make it. And the widow says, what do you have in your house? And she says, 3 drops of oil is all I have. He said, go and borrow vessels from your neighbors. And basically the parable to me, and what I believe it means, is she focuses on what she has. And it fills up all the vessels to overflowing. And what most people do is they don't focus on what they have. If they have $10, they're thinking about they need 50 or 100. They don't think about what they have. They focus on what they don't have. And if you focus on lack, guess what you're going to get more of? You're going to get more lack. But if you focus on what you have, you will get more of what you have. Now, I told you I went through that dark time. But we all pulled together here as a family and we made it. And now the work is starting to come in. Whether I drew that to me because I was thinking lack, or whether I drew that to me because I know I need to trust the process and I want more character. Actually, I had been asking for more character. And hard times and difficult and times in which you struggle builds more character and integrity. And I know that I need more character to achieve the goals that I desire in my life. Because if you achieve what you want without going through the character building stage, there's a really good chance that you will self-sabotage and destroy it and end up with nothing, or actually less or worse off than you were before you achieved whatever goal that you have. You do have a written goal now, don't you? If not, write one down after this video. All right, well, I'm going to wrap it up today. I want to thank you guys for joining me. If you'd like to get my help personally, you can contact me at marksinspirationalguidance@gmail.com or my website, marksinspiration.com. Check out my books on Amazon. Coming Back Home, The True Adventure of Mark Daniels, and The Power is Within. And it is. You can accomplish and do whatever you want in life. You can do it, but you have to believe it. And your actions will be in direct correlation to your level of belief that you can do what you desire to do. Action stems from your belief, from your thoughts, from your thinking, from your conviction. Because I'll guarantee you, the bigger the goal, the bigger the challenges. And you're going to have to be persistent and believe even when it looks like things are going the other way. Because sometimes they will. All great men have been great failures at one time in their life. So keep that in mind. Let that lift you up. And remember, never give up. Always get up and keep moving forward. Take care and have a great day.